Lunch or dinner? What do you like to eat? Which one? For me, breakfast, I skip that easily, so whatever.
I was gonna say for me, it's like the one meal, like it's lunch and dinner, you know, that one good meal.
I think dinner for me, if I don't have to do it, then yes, definitely dinner. Brunch. All right, I see brunch, I see lunch, I see dinner. Brunch. I see a lot of dinner.
Dinner.
Nobody for breakfast? Oh, I see a breakfast. Emily. All right. Oh, Megan said dessert. All right, okay.
Or picnic.
Let's see. All right, there's not a breakfast. Okay. All right, so let's go with our next question. Is there more answers coming in? Oh, they're still coming in. Breakfast. All right. All right, so we'll switch to our next question. Would you rather receive an expected exchange of gift or a surprise party? Like, you know, you're going to exchange gift, or would you rather to be thrown, like someone thrown a surprise party for you?
What's the question?
So would you rather receive an expected gift or to receive a surprise party? All right.
Surprise.
Surprise. Okay. Surprise. A lot of people like
I love the surprise party with gifts, like both in one. I want both.
Okay, you like to be shocked to say, "Oh my God, thank you."
No, like personally, I like to be surprised, but if I know I'm gonna be surprised, I can't wait. Like I am very impatient.
All right, so I see a lot of surprise. All right, so I saw some expected. I will pick some of you to share a little more. I see Deva. You said expected makes things less awkward. What do you mean? Can you share a little bit more? No, you can't turn your camera. I mean, you're already.
Well, I feel like if it's a surprise party, if the person receiving it is not expecting it, if they're not like, if they don't want to be surprised, I think it can go both ways. It's always a risk throwing a surprise party for someone because they could be like not in the right mood for having a surprise party.
That is true. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. All right, so, and we'll pick one person for surprise party. Let's see. Martin COP. I'm so sorry if I am just saying.
It's fine. It's choppy actually, but yeah, a lot of people get it wrong. I said surprise party probably just because like I don't know, like with a gift I can already kind of like wrap my head around it, you know, and I can already like make it so like it's not that big of a deal anymore, you know, and I already know what I'm getting, so it's kind of like takes away the appeal of it. And a surprise party can really like get you out of like a bad mood or anything, you know. So it's nice to see people too, I think.
I like both ideas. It's just like a small controversy. All right, thank you for sharing, Martin. I'll say this. And then Frank said white elephant. What do you mean, Frank?
So it's like a gift exchange. Someone put gift exchange and it made me think of that. So it's like everyone brings a gift and you can steal each other's gifts. So like there's a pile of gifts that are wrapped and you pick an open one.
Okay.
And then the next person can either steal your gift or open one from the middle.
Okay.
And then there's like, so it's like a fun game of like, if I see someone with something that I want, like a PS5, I could be like, I want that. Give me that gift. And then they have to pick something else in the middle.
I don't want nobody to pick. Still mine though.
I know.
So is there new rules from that to cover me? No?
Yeah, we did that for our Christmas event. It turned out being a really good plan.
Yeah, you can only be stolen from a number of times. That's like a rule.
Oh, okay. All right. But thanks for sharing. We'll go with our next question. So I like this question. If you had to choose between studying physics and studying chemistry, what would you choose? Physics, chemistry, physics, chemistry, physics. Oh, we have
Neither.
a fair amount of both. Someone said math.
Say
All right,
both are
neither,
pretty cool.
lol. Someone was talking, I'm sorry. No.
I'd say both are pretty cool.
Both, okay. I would probably be one of them saying neither, but yeah. More history. You have to pick one, either chemistry or physics. I think physics is harder than chemistry. I don't know. That's my personal thoughts though. Chemistry starts good until you get to the tables and everything else. That's way complicated.
Chemistry for me is better.
Is better.
Well, Lara, like the tables are the easy part. The conversions for me is the worst. I can't do that.
Oh, wow. But
honestly, all that's easy though. Like it gets worse, but it's like a better, like a good worse.
Oh, it gets worse than the tables. All right, say no more. All right, so any other answers? No, then we'll continue with the question.
Okay, let me ask you one thing. So if everybody can make sure that you put in your rename yourself. There's 3 little dots on the right hand side so that we know what your org is and like what your position is, because it'll be really helpful for the students that have to record your attendance today to be able to look at it fairly quickly. So I appreciate that. And then we'll ask one more last question, and then you get to choose either the 3 words or the photo piece for the next piece, and then we'll do the little couple introductions and we'll get going. Okay.
All right. Okay. One last question. So I like this one. What stage in life do you prefer to be stuck with? Being an adolescent or being an adult? Would you like to be stuck in the adolescent stage or in the adulthood stage? Adult, more opportunities. Huh? Only adults? Adolescent, I have one. Okay, adolescent, now they're coming in. I would say adolescent because I have too much bills as an adult. Feel like y'all haven't been adults long enough to realize that being kid is amazing. Oh wow. Megan, I'm sorry. Would you like to improvise? Any thoughts, or if you want to change some ideas? I see some.
Yeah, sure. I have a little bit more adult experience than some of the people here, so I just would love to go back to being a child and not have to worry about it.
I haven't been there much, but I can feel, I can relate to it a little bit. So how about you, Fahim? Would you like to share a little bit before we go to our next piece?
On whether I want to be adult or adolescent?
Yes.
Oh, I would pick adult because there's more opportunities.
Oh, more opportunities. All right. But there's no right or wrong answers. It was, oh, thank you for all your opinions. I guess you can go and ask your group of friends those questions because it's kind of interesting. Adolescents or adulthood. So, all right. So we'll switch to our next piece. And Tracy, I would pick the 3-word story. So, do you want me to explain it, or do you want to take burden? I can't hear you. Tracy, you're muted.
I am so sorry. I forgot that I had to move for the dog. I said, you can do the 3 words. We just going to have to popcorn it because there's no way we can just, there's a lot of people. So we're going to have to make sure we're not going to get to everybody. So I think it's fun. So we'll start it.
Okay. All right. So we have 63 people. 3 words. So for this activity, we're going to create a story. So in that story, everybody will take part in. Some of you might be familiar with it. Sometimes some people say 1 word in order to complete the story, but this time we're going to use 3 words, and most of you will participate, not all of you, in order to finish a story either in a good way or in a bad way. So for example, I can start this story with 3 words, and when it's your turn, you're going to say 3 words. You can either put, whatever you put will affect the next answers. So I will, let's see, because we have 63 people. Whoever's next, I will design to you, because I'm pretty sure we can't have the time to prepare our order for 64 people now. All right, so let's get started. We will get started with Molerene. I'm sorry, the way you got surprised though. Yes, okay, so it's up to you. What do you want to start with whatever story we're going to make? Give 3 words.
A story?
Yes.
You just give it 3 words.
Okay.
Do you want help?
I'm so sorry for waiting. I'm trying to think.
Do you want one of us to start it and then you do the second one?
No, I got it. So my first 2 words would be in the city.
In the city.
In the city. How about next we have Angela Chen.
You said in the city. In the city, there's a mountain.
In the city, there's a mountain. Okay. All right. So Nicholas Paul Gammon, how about you next?
In the city, there's a mountain. We're an old. That's my 3 words, I'm pretty sure, right?
We're an
old.
Okay, yeah, that's 3 words. Okay, so next we will pick Louis. Louis, hello.
There's an old man walking.
Old.
Oh wait, that's 2 words.
Man,
old man walking fast.
Okay. Man walking fast. All right. So next we will pick Sammy. Sammy, are you here?
Yeah, I'm here. Yep. I would say in a narrow. Is that 3 words?
In a narrow. Okay. So Mia, you said in a narrow. Now let's search to Sammy Cow treasurer. Will you tell the next 3 words? Are you there? No. You just unmuted. Maybe I saw somebody else. All right. So we'll go over to Fahim. How about you?
Okay. All right. Hello.
Hey, we can hear you. Okay. Can I give a hint on this one to make it a little bit easier? Because we wanted to go faster, can people unmute themselves unless they've got major sound around them? And then that way, when we get picked, it just kind of will go and rotate faster. Otherwise, this story is going to take us 10 hours.
Yeah.
I had work right now.
It's hard to hear you, Fahim.
Yeah, Fahim, you're breaking up.
Oh.
Okay, where were we with the story? Who was the last person? It said the old man walking.
Okay, there's an old man walking fast. In a narrow. So we stop at narrow. Think so. Then let's just go over with Emily. Emily Long. I don't know how many Emily.
In a narrow alleyway where he.
Okay, where he. And then let's go over to Cole Barclay.
Where he frequently walks down.
Frequently walks down.
Yep.
Frequently walks down. I wonder if there's gonna be major actions or if he's going to trip or I don't know, maybe have superpowers, but let's see. How about Madison? Madison Duffy. Yeah, wrong one. He keeps walking, so are you there, Madison Duffy? No. I don't know if you're in here or not since you don't have your cameras on. So then let's just go to Brianna Gross. I don't know if I pronounce it. But...
Well, you're good with mine. And I was gonna say NTCs.
NTCs?
Yeah, like NTCs. So he's looking at something.
Okay. Oh, and he sees. Okay, and he sees. All right. So what is he looking at? Christina iPhone. Not Christina iPhone. I guess not. So let's go to Selma. No. Oh, yeah.
Sunset and
the Sunset Inn. The Sunset Inn. I thought it would be like the Avengers or something. But... All right. So how about Nura Khalil?
what was the last part? The sunset.
So he sees the Sunset Inn.
And people watching.
People watching. That's two.
Watching it. People watching it.
All right. So now I need a game changer. I need someone to put something spicy in it. Who can be the volunteer for that?
I can.
All right. So there's Dan, and I see was it Megan as well? Okay, Megan, you get second. All right, let's go Dan first. Dan, take us away.
A polar bear.
Okay, watching it. Okay, there's watching it first. And then do we put a dot and then a polar bear?
We can do a comma.
Comma, the polar bear.
Okay, comma, a polar bear. Okay, now let's go with Megan and then Nicholas. Megan.
Actually, Megan. The world is.
Oh, a polar bear, the world is.
Oh, wait. No, sorry. I didn't catch that polar bear part. Is setting A.
Is setting A. Okay. Now we will go to Nicholas because I did see that hand.
Fire and warming.
Fire and warming.
The polar
Yes,
bear is setting a fire.
Yes.
Oh,
Is
fire and
Correct.
warming.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I would like to have a next volunteer to set whatever is set up with this polar bear. What is the polar bear doing? Anybody want to take us away? All right, we have Deva. Deva, take us away.
Its tired body. So the polar bear is setting a fire and warming its tired body.
It's tired body.
Oh.
All right, so there's the old man walking in a narrow alley, and there's a polar bear. Is there any connections between them? Do they come together? Do they fight, or do they make friends?
Can we continue it by saying the old man continues walking? He sees that and then he just leaves.
All right, so let me put a dot, and then the old man. That's forwards, but let's just let this slide because I don't know what was going on with the old man because he's just walking. What about the bear? None of his business. That's the bear's business. So do they interact? Okay, Brian, do you have something for us? Because we're like stuck on this.
The polar bear eyes the old man, something like that.
The polar bear eyes the old man.
Isn't that more than 3 words?
It's like 6 words.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. That is so true. I don't know. Should we let this slide? All right, here's the right question. Who is going against him giving more than 3 words?
Should we maybe slightly increase the word limit to 5 words?
Yeah, let's increase it.
Because otherwise it's going to take forever and it's just going to be constant adjectives.
Yes, let's just do a polar bear eyes the old man. Wait, what was it? A polar bear eyes him? Oh, the old man. Nobody wants to help out? I'll just write it.
Good.
Eyes the old man. And then what happened?
The polar bear slaps the old man.
No, that's all right. I'm gonna write it, but that's
Thank you.
the polar bear slaps the old man. All right. Who's gonna pick up after this? Joe.
Floats into the sun.
Huh?
Floats into the sun.
Walks into the sun?
Yes.
Walks into the sun. Oh, Jenny has a strong opinion that the old man slaps back. So let's add this.
It's in all caps too, so.
Okay. The old man slaps back. So at this point, they're fighting. So who's gonna pick up this fight? Who's gonna win? Let's just
The
see.
old man turns around and leaves. He leaves the bear on the ground.
Turns around and leaves. All right, I need one last person to just close it all. If the bear's coming back to fight and win, or just one last sentence to close it all. Any volunteer? All right, so I've seen comments in the chat box. All right, so.
Alfredo is funny. I like Alfredo.
All right, so we have the old man. No, the bear beats him. The old man wakes up. And we have Frank. Frank says, and goes to get a cheese stick. And we have Polar Bear brings him a Coke. I don't know how he could do that, but okay. The bear, the bear eats ham. Rose, you have some strong ideas. Jenny said he dies watching the sunset. All right, so
George. I like it,
We
George.
have, they recognize each other's strength and hug. I love that. Kat, thank you. But we have like 11 more messages. Thank you everyone for participating. I don't remember all of this sentence. I would like to say it again, but we'll probably end it here so that we keep going and time is ticking. But thank you for participating, and I will pass it over to Tracy.
Thank you. And again, yes, thank you all for participating. The reason we do things like that, there's a lot of you, so it didn't work quite exactly the way it should work when it's a little bit smaller, but you all participate in something together. That means you, every bit of you, when you help each other out and when you do work together, when you collaborate, when you help another member from a different organization out, when you help your own members, you're all part of a bigger thing. And that's what that exercise is to sort of show you, is that each one of you are part of making the story of what the student organization life, what we bring for engagement at Penn State Abington. And so we really thank you and wanted to start that way. I'm immediately going to turn it over so we can keep on time, because there are some time constraints for some people, to our SGA president. And I have to make sure that you can share your screen. So just give me 1 second to make you a co-host.
Tracy, could you make Jenny the co-host? She'll be sharing her screen.
Oh, I could do that. Yeah, absolutely. Hold on a second. Let me just I actually go to her versus going to share the screen would be really helpful, huh? You know, I need music to like tick, tick, tick for the amount of time it takes me to go over and do something. Okay, you should be able to do it now. Once I push it again, there you go.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Jenny. All right, so hi everyone. Happy first week of classes. 1 week down, 15 more to go. It's coming along very great. So we are SGA for the new student organizations that are joining us this semester. We are basically the student organizations that help you guys as student organizations get anything done that you want, advocate for what you want, and really just make campus a better place to be as students. So there has been a dramatic change in the executive board. As you guys know, Christian had to unfortunately step down for the spring semester. So I will be your president for spring 2022. There's a dramatic change in leadership within the exec board. You guys already know me. You know you can reach out to me anytime, text me, call me, email me. I'm available. These are my office hours. That's my Zoom link. And with the change of the executive board, I also wanted to mention, and I'm excited actually and thrilled to announce the new vice president for student government for spring 2022, Cole Barclay. I have the utmost faith in him.
Hey guys, I'm Cole Barclay. I was recently appointed to the SGA as vice president. Just a little bit about me. I'm a first year student. I'm in the 2-2 program and my major is finance. Just to start this off, I guess I just wanted to inform you guys of the Ssc meeting dates. Those will be taking place on February 11th, March 25th, and April 18th. So you guys just want to make sure you have those down. My office hours are 1 to 2 p.m. They'll be over Zoom every Monday. I'm just really glad to be here among all you guys, even if it is in this virtual setting. Please feel free to reach out for like anything you need. Obviously, my phone number there, and so is my school email. I'm just very excited to work with all of you to just bring a more integrative campus for the spring semester. Thank you.
Oh, can you put the dates in the chat and put what that actual meeting is that you just talked about? Because not everybody knows what that is.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, hi everyone, I'm Jenny. I'm the for student government this spring semester. Here's my contact information, and my email and phone number are both listed. My office hours are Tuesdays from 3 to 4. And something quick I wanted to say was that SGAC funds are still available for any student orgs that want to order apparel for your org, and please submit those requests through SGAC. Be engaged. Thank you.
everyone. My name is Kylie. I was quite literally appointed secretary a couple hours ago, but I really just wanted to jump in and kind of greet everyone and be here. Up here above is like email to reach out to me. I'm going to be acting as secretary. Feel free to email that email to get in touch with me, and then I'll also probably add my own school email there as well, and my phone number if you need to get in contact or bring up any concerns that you want us to look at, definitely. And we'll get my office hours and stuff updated, but really happy to be here. Nice to see everyone.
So with the concern of communication or the lack of communication that SGA has provided in this fall semester, Jenny had created a student org council GroupMe link, and a lot of you guys are already in there. And this GroupMe chat is really just for ease of communication, and I will communicate with you guys the reminders for student organization council meetings. I mean, Cole would do that now. And anything else that you guys have questions about, this is just a direct way of communication since you guys felt that there was a lack of that. And hopefully this is a step forward in resolving that with the new administration. And that's it.
Thanks, SJ. And if you have any questions for SJ, you're more than welcome to stick them in the chat and they'll be able to pull them up and answer them and get back to you at a later point during this meeting or at another time. So really appreciate you updating us on your new executive board. We're excited to see what everybody does and works and collaborates together. So thank you for that. Before we get into Frank's presentation, and get you up to date on everything. We have some changes in our staff too. And unfortunately, due to the fact that we got her to work a week early, I mean, you know, wanting people to work ahead of time, you know, we didn't think she was going to start till next week, but she started this week. So she didn't realize that she didn't think she could be here for that. And so she had already previous plans. So our new, and I keep messing up names, Frank, so you might have to just say the title for me. So
Program coordinator.
Thank you. Program coordinator is Emily, and she is amazing, and you'll get to all meet her along the way. And so because of her coming onto the staff, make sure you're stopping by and saying hi to her. You'll see her at the front desk. Her office is in the same office that Frank is in, right next to the desk. We're going to postpone what we normally do. If you haven't noticed, there's nothing out about presidents and treasurers meetings for this semester. We are making that it's still going to be mandatory. It's still going to be later, but it'll be later on in the semester so that she can really put her spin on the different things that we'll do with student orgs and take those roles on with you and get to know you a little bit better. So we wanted to make sure you had that opportunity. And then I'm going to have all of our interns that are working with the student organizations introduce themselves, just in case you don't know who they are. And you'll be seeing them throughout this meeting as well as throughout the semester. So you said you don't have a mute on, so you get to go first.
Oh, yay, fantastic. Hi, I'm Yusuf. I am a student part of SEAL. I'm a student advisor, and I advise some of you guys' clubs, for example, like SGA. So in case if you want like anything help, let's say for booking a room or just in general, you just want someone to talk to, I'm here.
All right, Cassidy, do you want to go next?
Sure. I'm Cassidy, like Yusuf. I'm the event specialist and I'm in charge of some of your groups too. If you need help with anything, you can just email me. I'm also here.
And then I think Mariella, I think I saw her come in. I know she was coming in from class.
Yeah, I just came in. Hi everyone. My name is Marielle. I'm a freshman and I'm also a student event and engagement specialist with Cassidy and Yusuf, and I'm in charge of some of your clubs. So please feel free to reach out to me for any concerns or anything you may need help with. I'm here if you need anything.
So how do they find out that you are, which clubs have, because we're getting lots of questions. So I want to make sure that in case they don't know, they know where to find it. How do they find out?
We can list the clubs like that we're all part of right now, if you like that, or we could put in the chat if that would be easier.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I think that way everybody knows, because when we're going to do some breakouts, you're going to be going into these lovely interns' rooms. And so that will be very helpful if anybody doesn't know who was their direct student advisor. Great. Thanks for introducing yourself. So I don't think I introduced myself, and there's some people that might not know me. So I'll do that first and then I'll turn over to Frank. I'm Tracy Reed. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Engagement and Leadership. My main roles are in leadership, training and service. I do a bunch of other stuff, but that's mainly what I do. I think I saw Kate come in. Did Kate come in? Is she still here? Yes, there she's. Oh, there's mommy.
Hi. Hi, everyone. This is my daughter, Avery, and I'm Kate. So my title is Coordinator of New Student Orientation, but I'm also the co-advisor for ACE, or Abington Campus Entertainment, as well as assisting new student orgs or students that want to bring new student orgs to our campus. So a few of you are new. So I was working with Nora, who helped you last semester. So I'll still be assisting with that. And if students, thank you. Today she's 1.5 years old. So yay, halfway there to 2 years old. And also if you want to have any contracts with like speakers or entertainers to bring to campus, I would be the person you contact and I will help you through that contract process. Nice to see you all.
Thanks, Kate. And so we're just trying to make sure you know everybody that's in the office. I advise groups too. We all do have some of those advising roles. So Frank, I'm going to turn it over to you. The only other person that's not here from our department is Beth Bradley. And so and I know that most of you know her, but she wasn't able to be in attendance with us tonight. So Frank, it's all you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Nice to see you. Happy spring semester. Before I get started, I do have some sick leave. My partner yesterday had to get knee surgery, so I am out of the office. So if I'm a little slow to respond, I'll get back to you when I get back, or email seal@psu.edu for the time being, just to give you a heads up. So if I'm too slow to respond, email seal or AB student orgs.
Yeah, Frank, that's what I was going to say. Do the AB student orgs.
Yeah, send it to AB student orgs at psu.edu, and I'll put that in the chat. Or if Yusuf, Mariel, Cassidy, if one of you could drop the email address in the chat, that would be great. I'm kind of checking email here and there, and I'm doing some family sick time, taking care of my partner. So
can we ask how he is before you start?
He's good. Yeah, the pain hasn't kicked in yet, so
good.
We'll see how that goes. But he had to get a like a kneecap recentered and a patella tendon, so he's partial zombie right now. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so when The Walking Dead happens in real life, his knee will take over his body, and I'll just run from him. Yeah, pretty dark, right? Yeah. No, he's doing great. So we just keep having this like zombie joke that he's part zombie now. So anyway, I'm gonna get right into it. I do not have a PowerPoint for you. So the first thing I'm gonna say is, before we get started, you keep your cameras off. I'd prefer you to keep them on, but you do you. The one thing I am gonna say to you is be present, please. I am not giving this presentation for my health or your health. It is to give you important information to have successful events for your semester and to be successful in yourself. So if I'm going to talk about something today and you're going to come to me and ask me the exact same question and you're in attendance, I'm going to tell you to come back and watch the video. Okay. And then you're going to have to find the spot in the video to your question. So please be intentional and attentive. I'll give you a couple of minutes to pull up a Word doc or something to take notes on. I will have a ton of time for questions at the end. If you have any, I would just ask that hold your questions or write them down on your document, and then we'll leave time at the end just to keep everything going, because there is a good amount of information to share. So the first thing, let's talk about what's new. Okay, so what is new with this semester? So the first thing is the Student Initiated Fee Board. For many of you who know, that is a source of funding for many of you to request student events. When you're putting in an event form this semester, you have to put it in at least and submit it a month prior to your intended event. Okay, so I sit on that board as an advisory non-voting member, but I do counsel them with student organizations and, you know, who's coming to me and what questions and what plans they have. So if you submit a request, make sure you get it in advance. So what's today's date? I don't even know. It's the 14th of January. If you're intending to have a Valentine's Day event, you should have a form in already. Okay, you should have your SAFB form already, because if it comes to, you know, tomorrow or the next day or something like that, I can't speak for the board and what they're going to approve. Maybe Ashka can, but I would say that that's a rule. And if we keep the rule for one org, it's only fair to keep it for all of them. So 1 month in advance. Okay, so that is a change. Our timeframes for events still exist as they are. So you have to submit your event form 3 weeks prior to hosting your event. So when you're thinking about planning an event, and we can talk about this a little bit more during our meetings with myself and Emily, you should be probably putting your funding request in and planning in first, unless you need to talk to us about, you know, can we have this? Can we do that? Can we do that? And then scheduling your meeting right after that. Okay, so that's big. Make sure to write that down. So, so that you know and that your event funding request can be successful. So we talked a little bit about that. There's not always an event timeline because all events are different, right? So I think, generally speaking, the more time you leave for events, the better. Okay, so if you're having an event in April, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't put your funding request in the next couple weeks, right? You can wait, you certainly can, but you run the risk of the funding all being allotted to other groups because there is a fixed amount of funding. And you also run the risk of losing your space. So try to do as much in advance as you can. Patricia, is it okay if you write your question down and I'll answer it at the end? I'm going to leave about 20 minutes or so for questions. Okay, just write it down on your notes or your Word doc or whatever it may be, and we can definitely circle back to it. Okay. Cool. Okay. So so your event time frame, there are certain things that require more time. Travel is one where you got to require more time. You got to book a bus in advance. So we're recommending 2 months of advance notice if you're going to travel. So there's a couple groups in here that have already started that. ACF, I'm thinking about you. Anime, I'm thinking about you. So those are already processed from last semester. But if you're planning something, you know, in March or April of this semester, start having those discussions with your groups and your plans, and then definitely come and check with Emily and myself. If it's just something that's not like a university sponsored trip and like you just want to take your org and you all want to meet up somewhere, that's something you don't have to really approve through office. So if the nature club wanted to say to each other, hey, we want to go to, you know, XYZ, you know, hiking trail or something like that, and you just wanted to do it all as a group, that's fine. You can totally do that. You don't need necessarily us. But if you wanted to make it a university sponsored trip with, you know, advertising it to all students and getting transportation there, then you need to start that process. Does that make sense? Get some nods. Cool. Awesome. All right. Reserving meeting rooms. Okay, so we've had this question a lot. We've had a couple emails come through about reserving meeting rooms. I guess we're happy to say that we're going to go back to the way we used to do it. So we're going to be doing meeting reservation rooms for the semester. This does not include any food related spaces. So I'm thinking about banquet room, the solarium, and things like that, because we can't have one group dominating the spaces where you can have food. So if you have a room that you want, there'll be a room reservation form coming out after training. We are going to give first crack to organizations that complete their training and register their organization and engage. If you don't register your organization and engage, you're not going to get a meeting room for the semester. Okay. If you don't complete training or it takes you time to make up, we want to reward people that are able to attend training. So kudos to you all for being here. And for those on the recording, try to get your training done as quickly as possible so you can get a prime meeting location. Okay. Emily Kolner is our new program coordinator, and Tracy introduced her. She's in 124 layers. She's excited to work with all of you and meet all of you. she, generally speaking, the way that it worked with Charles and myself, Charles says hi, by the way. He messaged me right before this and said, I'm going to Nuts and Bolts. But he said, make sure to say hi to everyone. He basically took on all the event responsibilities, right? So we're not going to hand them right off to Emily, who's just starting and learning Penn State policy. So there'll be kind of a soft handoff. So Emily may be sitting in on some group meetings. Emily will be learning things as we go. So, at some point, I think the goal is that, she can work with you all directly one-on-one, and I'll continue to work with you on the financial side. But I wanted to introduce her and just make sure that if you're stopping by Layers and you're coming by 124, just peek your head in and say hi to Emily and give her a nice warm greeting. She's had her first week and she's super excited to work with you all and doing a great job so far. So we are going to kick the presidents and treasurers meeting that Tracy mentioned a little earlier, a little later in the semester, just to give everyone a little bit more time to digest this information, and that can be kind of a refresher. Okay, so we'll do the room reservations, Tracy, I believe, based upon this and the reservation of your organization and engaged. So, all right, I'm going to get to Tracy, I have our list that we shared with each other. I'm going to get to 6 in a second, but let's talk about. Okay, let's talk about COVID and COVID-19 and Omicron and everything that's going on. So can anyone tell me what the new kind of regulations are regarding food?
There is no food whatsoever on indoor spaces.
Not exactly, sort of, close.
The food has to be packaged. Sorry.
Yes, okay,
and there's
no
eating allowed.
Okay, that's a partial picture. You're both, if you mush both of your things together, that's correct. Ashka?
You can't.
Oh, I think Dribble already said it in the chat, but yes,
Okay.
It's grab and go food policy. Absolutely no taking off masks in the building. So that's why no eating.
Right. Okay. So yes. So you all know Omicron is here for a little while and in our communities, and we're trying to take extra precautions. This is a top-down decision, university-wide, so it'll go across every office, faculty member, or whatever. But in addition to no eating in classrooms, we are trying to go to a grab-and-go model for food for the time being. This is only temporary, but it is until further notice. So we don't have an end date of when this is going to go, but yeah. No food or demasking during meetings or during events, okay? Unless it's virtual, like now. So we're all okay to not wear masks, right? And you can still offer a grab and go option. And I'd also say, like, people can eat under a mask as long as they remain masked that entire time. It's not in the policy there, but I think that's pretty common sense. So what does this mean? Well, for general events, just kind of rethinking what you're using to draw students in. For your student organization events, thinking about, instead of maybe thinking about, oh, pizza is how I get students to come to meetings, use your funding for other ways, right? Use your funding for activity supplies. Use your funding for different creative outside the box ways. Use your funding, maybe you go out and take out the purchasing card and go to Target and buy something that people can take with them after their event or after your meeting. You're not limited to basically, like, because of the food policy, doing nothing. You just have to be a little bit more creative with it. So, and that exists when this policy expires or goes away into the future. So if you want to use your group meeting funds for pizza or for something other than pizza, like supplies for an event or supplies for a student organization meeting, that's something you can do. I mean student organization meeting, not event supplies or SIFB. Okay. A reminder of the student org email. So if you have any student org questions, especially over the next week or two, but in general, email abstudentorgs@psu.edu. And if that's something that they'll answer general questions about booking rooms, about reserving spaces, about things like that. And there are the forms as well. So just a reminder to that, it's abstudentorgs@psu.edu. Ordering supplies. So We had a couple issues last semester with a couple organizations ordering supplies and maybe just not leaving enough time. So because Amazon has Amazon Prime, everyone thinks, you know, we can order it in 2 days and it gets here. We have to leave a little bit more time for that. In addition, there's also some vendors that don't offer Prime. So I would say very safely that for most cases, you can order stuff through Amazon 2 weeks in advance and be okay. Outside of that, if you come to order supplies online, I would just encourage you to try to pick up your items in person. Okay, so this is to prevent, you know, essentially waste, right? We don't want you to have to, firstly, we want you to have your supplies when you need them for an event. But if your event passes and then your supplies come in after that, not very good, because then we either have to find another use for them or hold them till next year, or, you know, worst case, throw them out. So we want you to leave enough time. So definitely, please do that. Please definitely leave enough time for you to place orders and supplies, and we can schedule meetings to do that. Okay. Just a reminder, only treasurers are able to take out the card. So presidents, you cannot take out the card. You may have been a treasurer in the past, but this is the responsibility of the treasurer of your organization to be the card keeper. Okay. So I think it's really important that if you're a treasurer and you're a first-time treasurer and you need to take out the card between now and treasurer training, that's okay. Just set up a time to connect, and we can talk to the meeting or connect with another SEAL staff member about just the guidelines about tax exempt. Any of us, all of us in SEAL, myself, Tracy, Kate, Beth, and now Emily, who just took our purchasing card test, you know, should be able to guide you on what you need to do for the purchasing card if for some reason I'm out. So just to be aware, if you're a newer treasurer and you have an event before we can get that treasurer training scheduled, just set up that meeting and we'll go over all the guidelines with you. Okay. So that's kind of like my spitball list that we created of stuff that we think you have to know at this point in this semester. There's definitely a lot of information that we shared back in the fall, and much of that hasn't changed, but I wanted to know what questions people had. So if you've been thinking and writing questions in your notes about, you know, the semester or about finance or about student org events, feel free, I guess, raise your hand so it's not a free for all to ask those questions, and I think we'll be happy to answer them. So let's start with Heavenly, because your hand was up first. So go ahead.
Hi. So my question was, like, this training that you're talking about, is this like the original like presidents and treasurers training, or is it like the student organization council thingy?
It's president and treasurer training. So we'll probably do, you know, 2 or 3. What we've always done in the past are either in person or Zoom, you know, 30-minute trainings for you to come in. For me, and running the treasurer training, what I've always tried to do is just go over what a treasurer needs to do to sign out the card, like what they need to show to the front desk, what they need to do, how they submit a funding request. For the presidents, it gets a little bit more depth of how do you run your org, you know, how do you set up your engage page? What are ways that you can engage students? And a lot of that, you know, Heavenly, as you may know, is a lot of back and forth, and you bring questions. Hey, I want to do this with health and humanities this semester. How can I do it? Or can I do this? I have a good idea. So a lot of that is just, you know, a time and place for you to ask questions, but also for others and your peers to also hear those answers, because we find that very, very important to, you know, if you ask that question, you know, maybe someone else in the room is thinking it. I'm sure they are. So.
I actually have one more question, if I can.
Yeah, you got the floor.
I wasn't sure because I checked on Engage, but it wasn't like popping up. I think it was the SGA committee thing, or, you know, like where clubs were able to like get funding for apparel. Is that still like a thing?
Sure is. Yeah, it sure is. I would ask Jenny if you can, or Ashka. Jenny preferred if you're, I know you're in the claw. Can you come off mute? Talk a little bit of SGAC. If not, I'm happy to answer.
I'm not in Claude anymore, but for
Okay.
SGAC, you would just go on Engage and like submit your funding request on there, and then it would go through SGAC, and then I'll get back to you on that if it got accepted or denied, and then you would go back to Frank if you do get accepted for it.
And what are the things that orgs can request? Are there any limits to the amount of funding they can request? Any other details that you can share, Jenny?
Yeah, so you could order like club payrolls through SGAC, and I think the limit is like up to 700.
Okay, cool. Heavenly, does that answer all your questions?
Yes,
Good?
thank
Cool.
you.
You're welcome. Rowan?
Yes, I was just gonna ask because I heard that you said there's like a certain amount of training that we need to get done before we can have room reservation. So like what is the most important things that we need to get done as far as training so that we can get to reserving the room?
So Tracy, correct me if I'm wrong, but the two items are this training, which you're all here, which is great. And then registering your organization on Engage, which has to be done every semester. Is that right, Tracy?
Yeah, that is correct. So not every one of you are here. It's your president and your treasurer that are mandatory to have attended this event. So if they haven't, if they're not here and they don't stay till the, or one of you leaves early and you don't stay to the end, then those students will have to then do the makeup assignment before to be approved for this training. And so that you have to finish that training. We're not this semester, usually we include the president and treasurer's meeting, but because we're pushing them back further, we're not including them as what is part of registration, because everything that happens in the first 2 weeks is usually what's part of that registration. And then we, as of 5 p.m. today, the registration went live. Thank you, Kate, for doing that. I really appreciate it. And that is up so you can go in and register your organization. We do it every semester because you all have so many changes within your organization structure. SGA, your primary example. So we make sure that we have the most accurate information on who your president and treasurers are and all of your other organizations, so that we aren't giving information or trying to send things to the wrong people. So thank you.
One note, when you register your organization, go back into your organization and go into your officer section. It should be required that you have to put in your president, treasurer, and an advisor, I believe. But if any of the people, like your vice president of your organization, Rowan, I know you have a vice president of your organization. Some orgs do, some orgs do not. They are probably going to get cleaned out because of they're not a quote unquote required executive board member. So just go back in and make sure you add those people back into your group. Okay.
And everybody's required to have a faculty or staff advisor. So that should be in your description, the same thing with the other officers. If you go in and they don't have it, then I'm going to have to send emails and like close you down to get you to put them out there. So make sure when you're doing your registration that's a part of it. We use Engage for communication. So the way that I reminded all of you was because I pushed president and treasurer. So if they're not labeled as that stuff, then people are not getting the same kind of communication through the system.
Yep. Thanks, Tracy. Trish from Nature Club.
Hey, so do we have up until 24 hours before a meeting still, or before a SIF board meeting?
I'm not aware that process has changed. Ashka, I think what Trish is asking is basically 24 hours before the meeting, people had to submit their submission.
Yeah, so that still holds true. Okay. So SIFB meets at 12 p.m. and noon. So you have to submit it 12 p.m.
I'm muting you. Okay. Go ahead, Ashka, again. I'm sorry.
So SIFB meetings happen at noon at 12 p.m. So if you were to submit a request, it has to be 12 p.m. The previous day. It has to come in by then.
Okay, thank you.
Was that your question from earlier, Trish, as well, or did you have another question? Did I answer?
Yeah, that was my question from earlier. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Martin.
So this is a question very specific to my club, like the Lifesavers, like because we work with the Red Cross to set up the blood drives and everything. And I started emailing with the nurse, and she said that it's already scheduled for February 4th. So I was just wondering if I need to like submit a request for a room reservation like as soon as possible, or if that's already like reserved for us or for the Red Cross?
I believe that's already reserved because that's a collaboration with our Health and Wellness Center. So I'll double check your room reservation, but you don't need to submit it. But I would say you probably would do the Engage side of advertising that and putting that event onto Engage. So most likely I would just go in and we'll go through the Engage event process. And if you're not familiar with putting an event in, you can sit down with your student org rep from our office. Not sure if that's off the top of my head, Yusuf, Cassidy, or Marielle, but they could probably help you submit that event and Engage, and then we'll get that in and approved. Luckily, Michelle for Lifesavers has always kind of done the back end work with the Red Cross, because there's just a lot of logistics to that process of bringing them to campus. So, but as far as I know, I think that space is good and reserved. Yeah, it's reserved for Luber Commons on the 4th. So,
okay.
Marielle is your person for Lifesavers.
Thank you. All right, Rose, you're on deck from LSO. Hi, Rose.
Hi. I have 3 questions. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay,
I know
sure.
that's a lot.
No, that's okay. It's your floor. Go ahead.
So they're kind of yes and no. So my first question was, what if the event is in the banquet room or something else? Like, would you still have to wear your mask no matter what? Would it still be a grab and go situation?
Yes.
Okay.
So if and I didn't really say this earlier, but if your event is in the banquet room or anywhere indoors, masks are required 100% of the time. And the organization, you all are responsible for enforcing the mask mandate as well.
Okay.
So it's really important for us as staff that you're leaders, right? You're leaders, and I think everyone knows how transmissible Omicron has been. Either, I would say, ask yourself if you know someone who has Omicron, and anyone that doesn't, I would be very shocked, right? We all know someone that's been sick with COVID over the last week, or heard of someone sick with COVID over the last couple of weeks. So we're trying to, part of this is trying to ensure that we can stay in person, right? So by keeping masks on and by changing these policies, we're trying to limit the opportunity that we, potentially have to spread this to the point of not being able to keep operations. So we need your help with that and keeping that indoors. Now, when we get to outdoors, the outdoor mask mandate is still, you can take your masks off outside if you're vaccinated, and if you're not vaccinated, you're supposed to be masked at all times when on campus. We haven't gotten to the point of having an event outside that we've thought about food and outside that isn't really adequately discussed in the policy. So I think we'll just get through winter, and I think our hope is that that policy reverts back to what it was in the fall. But we'll definitely communicate that with you when it's there. So sorry for the long answer, but I hope that answered that question. And then, of course, feel free to keep asking me questions until you're done. Okay.
Yeah, it definitely did answer.
Okay, good.
And I will do that. So I just wanted to know also for events, when we have events, are we still allowed to order from like places like Etsy and stuff like that, or is it just Amazon?
Yeah, you can order from anywhere that will, you can order from anywhere. As long as, what you're ordering doesn't break any laws, right? And they offer tax exempt. There's a couple exceptions to these rules. One is like if you order like soda or drinks, you're supposed to only order Pepsi products. And your order should be tax exempt. But I've worked with student orgs who have ordered through Etsy, and you can order, they'll keep the tax on, and you just contact them for a tax refund. So yeah, you could be creative, and you can go in person too. Like you can go in person, check out the card, and actually shop for what you want. The tricky thing with Amazon or anything online is sometimes stuff is either misrepresented or it doesn't come as you expect it. So sometimes it might be better if you're doing something crafty or something like that to go out to an actual craft store, look at what you're getting, and not get, sticker shock when it comes in like, Ashka, I think about Festivus and those baskets we ordered, right? We were going to make gift baskets, and basically these baskets came that were like the size of a napkin. And like, how are we going to put anything in this basket? And we had to pivot and make something work. So You just got to be a little bit like careful with that kind of stuff. I know, right? But we made it work. So, and
That's
Rosa,
what this was
you had
for.
3, right? 3?
Yeah, I have
Okay.
my last one.
Sure.
All right. So I was on Engage, registering the club because we were speaking about it. And there's a like a little section that says membership benefits. What
Mhm.
am I supposed to write in that category?
Oh yeah, so it's going to ask, I think, for mission and membership benefits. So membership benefits are why do students want to join your club? Like it could be, we're going to talk about Latinx culture. We're going to, hopefully, host events that are important to us. It's basically your way of, so if I'm a student and I'm looking at your group, I'm going to see that on your homepage, and it's going to say to them membership benefits, why I want to join. So that's what you're putting in there.
Okay,
So,
thank you.
you're welcome. Thanks for your questions, and I hope they help not only you but other people in the chat who are listening. Malaya from BSU, you're up.
Hi. Sorry, I don't want to ask like a stupid question. I've just
Don't say that. There's no stupid questions.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's already been hard for me to like navigate Engage ever since
Right.
like forever.
Mhm.
And I know I really want to get like a room reserved and everything, and like I'm attending the nuts and bolts, of course. And you talk about like registering like your group, like this, like registering your group as a whole.
Mhm.
Okay, and would that be on Engage?
Yeah, so
Okay.
let me see if I can like share my screen here, because this might be helpful to people who are like, how do I register my group? So let me share my screen. So I have this cool thing with Engage that I can like see, like I can pretend to be someone, and I can't like do actions for you, but I can like impersonate you. So let me see if I can impersonate you, and this will help kind of see what you'll see. All right, so here you are. So here's your thing, and then there's groups. So when you're in the top, I think you'll see this under group registration, and then let me see if I can go down and find BSU. You should get a prompt that says your group requires re-registration. It may not have taken effect. Has anyone tried it yet and had it work? Like had it pop up?
I've tried and I don't see it currently.
Okay.
So,
I think what happens is you go into here under groups, you hit all groups, and then when you come up here, it'll say something along the lines of like, your group requires re-registration. Let me stop sharing just for a quick second. I want to try one more thing, but I don't want to share someone else's like PSU number or anything like that. Okay, it hasn't launched yet. So there's gonna be a button on that group page for the president. I think it'll only be for the president of the organization. And where that's gonna show is, let me share my screen, sorry. Bouncing between different things. It's gonna show right here. So under like Abington Campus Entertainment, this is an example, or maybe Abington Art Appreciation. Your block will come up right here, and it'll say group re-registration, and then you'll click that, and then it'll go to different things here. So just check that out on Monday. We'll just check out what's going on technically as to why it's not working right now. It may not have hit that button that says all the groups have to be re-registered. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Megan from Library Lines.
Okay, I got it. So my question might not apply to a lot of people here, but what about affiliate organizations? We don't seem to have an intern. And I don't know what the difference is really.
Yeah. So an affiliate organization is a little bit different. There's a couple orgs that may be here that are from affiliate organizations. ACE is an example of an affiliate organization. Library Lions and Lion Ambassadors are affiliate organizations. And essentially what that means is like your group has been started with kind of the assistance of faculty and staff or the university, and you work with them more directly. So what that means is, technically speaking, like if something would happen to one of those groups, right? Like the Lion Ambassadors is a good example. If Lion Ambassadors, something happened with that group, admissions would still have to carry on those duties because the Lion Ambassadors serve a very important purpose of offering tours to people. It would like ACE is another example of that. It would stink for, like to not have students in that role, but we have had situations in the past where we've had to kind of run programs directly from our office. So that's kind of the denominator there. There is, I would say, affiliate organizations also didn't go through the new student orientation or organization process. So, they may not have the same kind of constitution for all students. And there's another situation where if organizations are restrictive, meaning like they're not open to all students. So like if they're an application-based group and it's not open to all students, they can't technically be a registered student organization. If you think that your organization is an affiliate organization and you'd want to be a registered student organization, I would have a discussion with, whoever your advisor is and say, hey, I'd like to take the organization in this direction. Nature Club actually used to be like tied to faculty and working with faculty, and then they went through the new student organization process. I think they had a different name back in the day, and they kind of became Nature Club. So that's also a possibility. I just have a discussion with your with Brendan, I think is specifically who your advisor is. But basically, you can do almost everything that a student organization. You cannot get funding through SGA though. So SGA does not fund general funding for affiliate organizations, and they don't fund through, I think they may fund through SGAC, Ashka, right? They can fund through SGAC, but.
Yeah.
And then when you were asking about the not having a student advisor, it might be just because you were fairly new too, so that we might have to just update that, because I don't see any reason why we wouldn't have somebody you could talk to if you have a question.
Okay. I still have one more question.
Yeah,
So actually two. One was, are we able to get money for apparel, or does that come through SGA? I'm kind of mixed up on that. And the other.
Yeah, keep going. Sorry.
So, oh man, I forget the other part. I'm sorry.
All right. I'll answer this one and maybe it'll come to you. So money for apparel has to go through SGAC. Okay. And so for people in the chat, there are two forms of funding. Student fee. There's more than that, but two that I think are important to request. Student fee, which basically means I want to hold an event that's open to all students. And SGAC, which means I want to do something that's only open to my organization. SGAC is mainly used for apparel, but not necessarily. They can also fund private events for your organization, retreats, ways for you to grow as an exec board. There's a whole bunch of things, but you have to think, is your thing that you want to fund open to all students? If the answer is yes, go to SIF or SIFB. If it's open to only like your organization members, your organization, then you're forced to kind of have to go through SGAC.
Okay. We are trying to do something to attract more students and have more participation. So we're actually gonna talk about that at our next meeting, but also I just was I was a little confused. So thank you.
It feels like most of the stuff like that would be SIFB, because you're trying to attract any student to walk in your door and engage with you in any way. So that I would say stress SIFB, but like if it's something, just for you all, right? And there's other things that SGA has funded in the past, like conferences for student organizations to go to that would be individual to members that have also been funded through SGAC. Okay.
Okay. Oh, I do remember.
Yeah.
What would like a keynote speaker
Mhm.
event kind of thing go through? Would that also be, I mean, if it was open for everyone, that would
Yeah.
also be
Yep.
student?
If it's open to
Okay.
everyone, SIFB. And
Okay.
something that SIFB would, I think, not to speak for the students on that board, they love to fund speakers and any kind of events that you can do. So if you
Okay.
think about that stuff, I'd say get a quote and ask how much the speaker fee is, and then just submit that request through SIFB.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Trish, you're back. Hello.
Yeah, sorry.
okay.
So this kind of relates to her question. If we have like goodie bags that we want to give out to campus, would we go through, I was thinking that we would use the the fee or the money that we get through SGA for, merch and everything. Would we go through SIF then?
If your goodie bags are open to any student, SIF.
Okay, so
if you're limiting it in any way to a particular person, people, or population, it would have to go through SGAC. Hopefully not a population, but you get what I mean.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
I just want to give a look in the chat because that was the last hand. I don't see any other questions. So, I want to end, so I have about 5 minutes left. So I want to end on something that I think is pretty valuable to talk about. And it's a two-way conversation about pain points. And if we go a little longer than 5 minutes, that's totally fine. But I want to know what everyone's pain points are with either processes or, certain things. And then I'll share kind of what I think are like areas that I think organizations can improve. But is there anything out in either in the student org process or something last semester that was bothersome in any way or was really confusing and you want to talk about? So I'll give you a minute to think about it. And I'll take hands or I'll take chats, whatever you feel comfortable sharing or adding. But what are pain points? What are pain points? And you know what? I'll start and I stress this during every nuts and bolts, and I stress this every year, but it always happens because I do it as well. But time frames, like the time frames, is the big pain point, right? So, organizations coming 2 weeks and 2 weeks prior to an event and saying, I want to have this event for XYZ. And, the most awkward thing for us in our roles is to say no, right? And a lot of organizations have come to me and said no. Like if an organization submits a form late and we reject it, we don't feel good about rejecting it. And I've had organizations say like, oh, you shouldn't reject anyone ever. But if we reject one org for a time frame and it's arbitrary, right, then we can't give preferential treatment to another org and submit it. So that's my thing, is like time frame, being aware of your time frames, trying not to be last minute. Ashka?
So something that I've seen a lot of student orgs struggle because they text me all the time, which is great. Thank you guys for that. And because I sit on SIFB, is the lack of information and filling out information correctly. And it's truly like disheartening because they have everything there except for one thing. The rules are in place. And so the SIFB unfortunately has to say no. So that's something that I know everyone struggles with, especially with itemization and stuff like that.
So how would orgs correct that?
Honestly, I would say if you go on SIFB Unengaged, there are members listed. I know you all reached out to me, but there are other people that are, you know, in there for expertise, students that have, you know, much more greater response time, faster response time, probably better than me, that can help you out as well. So just go out to these people and they'll help you and make sure that they get approved.
Yeah, I think the other thing would be, you know, definitely like chat with us about, hey, if you're in any way unsure about how to, and Rose, I saw your question in chat, so I'll get to that. But if you're in any way unsure about how to submit an SAFB, like, you know, obviously don't wait until Friday before Monday to submit it. You know, just try to set up a meeting to discuss. And I'm always happy as a non-voting member of that committee to look at this request and say, okay, this might be an area of concern with the committee based upon past action, or this may not. Like, just as much as, you know, SAFB is a resource, we're resources to help you be successful in submitting those. So, Trish, talking pain points.
Is this like a question thing of like, oh, we came up with this issue?
Yeah, what are you struggling with? Like, what, you know, it could be member recruitment, it could be member retention, it could be this. Like, what are you struggling with as orgs?
It's what you just said, like member recruitment, retention, and like keeping active members and having active members.
Right.
Because we went from, I think, our like engage, because we had a mandatory meeting before the semester ended, and we said, hey, if you don't come, we're going to assume you aren't in the club anymore because we haven't had much involvement. And our group for like our email group went from 30 to 6.
Okay.
So is there any advice that you guys kind of have for keeping, getting, and having active members?
Yeah, I think that one thing our lead associates have taught is that, and hopefully it might have taught you at the beginning of this, is that when you host a meeting, have a purpose to it. You know, have an engaging meeting. We've hosted these seminars in the past that were called engaging meetings and how to plan them. So when you're thinking about your meetings, as opposed to, you know, just a meeting where you have a piece of paper and you spit updates at people, think about activities as they relate to your organization. Think about conversation topics as they relate to your organization. Give people a reason to come back. This may not relate to Nature Club, but like, I mean, is there a, you know, I've heard orgs talk about doing a book club or some kind of like idea related to their mission that, you know, engages all their membership that they want to talk about. And the last thing I say is ask your members, you know, ask your, if you only have 6 members who showed up, that's fine, but ask them, hey, what do you want to see? Because when Seal, Kate, Tracy, me, Beth, Emily, when we're thinking about developing programs, a lot of times we're going to ask students what they want, because that's what you want and that's what's going to get you to show up. So those are introductory topics, but I would also say, like, how are you advertising? Are you tabling in the lobby? And when you're tabling, are you being active when you do it? Not to put anyone on blast, but I think 95% of our organizations didn't do any tabling outreach, and it's something you can do. You can reach out for tabling for our office. So you could sit in the lobby. You could think of one group that did it actually and did it really well was Sister to Sister. They had an event, they had a painting event, and they were in the lobby, and they thought of and they had these little bags of candy with stickers on them that said, here's our event time. And they gave them out. And as opposed to like just sitting there at a table and looking miserable, because tabling can be hard, they had an interactive activity to give people out. So those are things that, you know, I'm not saying everyone should copy that idea, but it was a good idea. And no idea is new. So,
and I'll add just one little piece to that, which is it's the personal context. So if you, before you get to the point where you're they're not contacting you and they're not doing it, send an email and say, hey, I haven't saw you and I'm getting really concerned because we really love your input. and it makes that there's a value for them because you are seeing them as a person. Because what happens, and I know it's even harder with COVID, what happens is we tend to we intellectually know we're seeing them as people, like individual, but the communication that we're giving them is that they're just a number, and that we just want them to show up because we want them to do things for us as a group versus for the group as a whole to make it work because it's valuable for them and for you. So just kind of keep that in mind when you're speaking with your groups.
Yeah. Be authentic, show people time, all that stuff is great, but got to put the work into. So absolutely. Heavenly?
Yes. So one of the pain points, I guess, that I have, it was something that happened last semester, and there's a first time for everything. But I think, like, I guess when you're co-hosting, and I really never had this issue before, but if you're speaking with the other club's social media head, and it's really, even though you're co-hosting, it's both of you guys like club's events, but it's really like the first person that asked you to co-host their event. I think a big thing is to listen and try to see what the main clubs, like what they want, like as their flyer, to really listen and then say like, oh, okay, we made this flyer, we really want this to be out. I think you should really listen to them because at the end of the day, it's still their event. They're the ones that asked you to co-host. And again, I'm not putting them on blast or anything like that, but I think as you're co-hosting, you should communicate a lot, and especially within the clubs, especially like if one club is talking to the other club's advisor and they're saying, okay, like you completely agree with everything, then hopefully that advisor will speak down to the presidents and so on and so forth, so that everything is clear. That's just something I have to put out there. And that there's not a lot of issues, and that there's not like a member that just wants to do what they want to do, because it's an event for both clubs, and if you agreed on something, then you should listen to that.
Collaborations are really hard, and Heavenly, thanks for sharing that, because it may be easy now to listen, right? Because hopefully no one's in the throes of the semester too hard after week one. But I did it when I think I was answering a question, and sometimes our reaction is to just respond to a question, right? And respond. And I think hopefully you've heard of the term like listen to respond and like listen to understand, right? And I hope you think about in your collaboration, but also just in your day-to-day, when you're working with other students or working with staff, not just responding, but actually understanding and really taking the time to think about like what's happening with the situation. And it's hard. It's hard when we're busy. I listened and responded probably more last semester than I ever have, right? And I realize that, and I'm going to try to work better at it, just because when we're busy, it's really hard. So Heavenly, I think that's like a good recommendation for the whole group of everyone here, is that when you're thinking about even interacting with your members, just think about like, not only like, how am I answering this, but why are you coming to me, right? Because ultimately, like, we want you to be successful. So
yes, I completely agree.
Yeah, so it's hard when you're busy, but try to like slow down, try to like try to like slow down. That's all I can say. That's my New Year's resolution, slow down. Thank you, Heavenly. Ashka?
All right, Frank, I know, so some of these were SGA specific, but I know there isn't a lot of time, but I think this might be like helpful to everyone, not just SGA, but how do you keep your members passionate, right? Because they came to you because they were passionate about something that you're doing. And you said, give them a reason to come back, but how do you give them a reason to come back? Like, how do you kind of retain your membership? That's what I'm asking.
Yeah. it's different for each group because different groups have different missions and different groups have different things. But I always think that like some people join groups for friendship. Some people join groups for you know, that it matches either a cultural, religious, or personal identity that they have. But I think what's important, and the answer to this question isn't easy, Ashka, but why is someone joining your group? And really trying to understand the why before you understand this, right? Like understand like what they're coming to you for, right? So if you understand like I am joining, you know, I'm joining SGA because I'm really passionate about politics and I want to help to gain some skills in advocating for other people, right? Then you need to know that in order to help lead your club. If you don't know that and you just think I'm coming to a meeting and sitting there to listen to you, like you're really not going to have a good club. And eventually I'm going to get bored because you have no clue why I'm there. So maybe it makes sense for you, you all to think about like during your club, what do people want when they're coming to your club, right? And have those discussions, and not just once, you have to continue to have those discussions, because as great as clubs are not just a resume booster for yourself to take the role of president. Your clubs are about your mission. So double down on your mission, explain your mission, and then fold your mission into what your group members want of your club. So I hope that's helpful.
And I'll add right from that is that sometimes what happens is you all are getting these students in the beginning, and what you don't realize is people are trying you on. It's like you're putting on a new coat or putting on new clothes, especially as a freshman. They think there's something that's attracting you, or you just convinced them really well at an involvement fair or a conversation to come into it. But that doesn't mean that they're always going to stay, because it may not fit them anymore, and you might see them in a different organization. So that's why that constantly talking to them, especially in those beginning things, will get you to understand whether or not this is something they were just trying on.
And then take it to the next step, right? So if someone is in that role and they want something and they're committed, how do you keep them committed, right? What responsibility do they have? And responsibility doesn't mean you assign them tasks, right? It means you have a discussion with them about things that they want to see from your club or organization. So it's a layered approach, right? It's a layered approach, but I think, and it's hard to do. The larger your organization gets, the harder it is, but start with your core. Start with your core of people that are coming to every meetings, and make sure that you're engaging them. And then they'll tell people, hey, this club is really great. That's how I think this gets built up. So hopefully that's something to think about. And I'm sorry that you're gonna have to think about it, but it's how this works. So do you have a second question? I thought you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Good point.
it was about like foundational changes that like student works go through. I'm not sure if any other organizations go through this, or maybe it's just SGA. Because coming out of COVID, we really had to make foundational changes as to how to operate as an organization. So how do you kind of make sure that the next group of people that take over aren't going to face the same fundamental foundational problems?
Show of hands or reactions. Who felt like they didn't get trained well enough by the previous administration, president? You can raise your hand, you can emote, you can put yes in the chat. Just curious. Yeah, just raise your hands.
If I could add something, I feel like all of the training came from either SEAL or like the nuts and bolts event. None of the training came from the previous people, especially for clubs that were left with 0 board members from previous years.
Right.
So let me address that one just because it's in training, right? So we really highly encourage you to do that passing on, and we try to instill that into each person. We have forms, we have the way you should do it. We do a transitional thing. We pushed your election process up as early as possible so that you have those time frames. but it really is the student, it's you who's sitting in these seats that are the impact for the next people. And if you've got somebody who's not willing to impact and doesn't really take the time to value their work, because really what you do when you don't pass it on is you just lost all the work that you've done. Then it's hard to, we can't, it's not a mandation that we can do. And so the conversations that you're having now as the beginning of the semester is when you should be thinking about the next transition and the next people. And what I'll do, if you remind me, is I will try to make sure that I put out the documents to all of you early so that you have everything right now, because we already have them created, and we can just make sure that you have them so that you will be able to start that process and start that thinking of it.
Yeah. And I like some of the comments that I have for people about like Jessica and Roman and things that you're saying about like, I don't want people to go through what I went through. I would also give the previous administration a little bit of grace because of COVID, right? So COVID has made our lives more challenging, but it's also made our student organization lives a little challenging. So I use this example that our front desk staff has been completely new this semester. And the reason for that is like everyone was working remotely during COVID and a lot of students graduated. So our staff don't have that seasoned person for me to say, all right, this person can help train you from a peer-to-peer standpoint. That's the same in student organizations. That's the same in student organizations, that there isn't as much. I think there's like a handful. I could probably count on my hand how many student organization members were actually student organization presidents or treasurers or executive board members prior to COVID-19, right? It's been such a turnover. So I hope that you commit to double downing on giving those next people your expertise. The other thing is like if you know who was in your organization prior to you, just because they did their quote unquote training with you or didn't, doesn't mean you still can't reach out, right? I think it's great. I was meeting with an organization and we were talking about like one of their keystone events. And I said, well, okay, why don't you reach out to this person? Or why don't you reach out to this person who used to be the president of your organization? We could probably get their contact information and talk about like what worked with your organization and what didn't. I know it's not the same world that they're living in, but possibly they could definitely help you and what they learned from the position as well. So network and keep those networking things going.
Hopefully you're have an active advisor of some sort that will give, even if they don't know everything, they might know the context of the people or some basic information to kind of help you through some of the processes. We encourage them heavily to do that as well, and to be part of those foundation. Like we have them meet with the new president and the seasoned president or that's leaving, and hopefully you reach out to them and can get some of that as well going forward.
I put down a few hands that I think were hands from the previous question, and I'm glad you all like own that. And I'm sure there may have been some people who had them. So if I put down your hand by mistake, please re-raise it. Trish, your hand was up before, so I'm going to go to you first, and then I'll go to Alfredo.
Yeah. So who would we go to like request a table?
Just send me an email, and then I'll just confirm a spot. And then in your email, just state, I want a table this date, this time, this location, and then we'll book it. The other thing you could probably do, for the next 2 weeks, send it to AB Student Orgs as well. Actually send it there first and then just CC me, because I think it would be better for your response times to send it there, and then just keep all that information, when you want a table, what location, and then the time.
Okay. And when you are out of, like, when you're done on your sick leave, would we then just email you instead of the AB Student Orgs, or should we still stick with that?
I think still the student orgs, because a table is kind of like a room reservation and it works that same way. So we used to do a form when we used a prior Engage system. Maybe we'll go back to that for right now, but right now let's do the AB Student Orgs, at least for the start of the semester, and we'll communicate out if there's a form going forward. But I think that's where I would leave it for right now. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
And I oh yeah, I'm muted. I thought I wasn't. I would suggest that the best way to do it is you can just CC things. So if you're not sure where to go, send it to Abington Student Orgs and then CC Seal or CC Frank or CC me. Like that way you're getting to somebody in the office if somebody's not available right at that moment.
Yeah, you could CC me, Emily, Tracy, Kate, and Beth on everything. And if it's answered to one of us and we're just all on CC, then we'll just know who answers it if you're ever unsure. So it's not weird to do that. Alfredo.
Yeah, I was just gonna say one thing, or maybe two.
Sure.
The first one was I was wondering, either on like I know where the forms are at on Engage, but I was wondering if we can like either do like a hyperlink either on like the Teams or the campus groups for people that don't really know how to find them.
Okay.
Because sometimes it could be tough to like dig through Engage and be like, okay, it's in this specific spot. Because sometimes in like later in the semester I'll forget about it and I'll have to dig for it, but it'd be a lot easier if it was just like a link kind of thing.
Okay.
The second comment I had was just about like the conversation we were having about like continuity.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's kind of tough to do it as far as like your next president or treasurer, because things are changing and that's just because of the times that we're in. Like even when we're training for like when we were just on Engage and then we switched to the campus groups, you can't really like plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's really up to like the next person to know like, hey, this is what it was, but know that like it could change. Like they just have to be ready to adapt really.
Yeah, that's totally true. Like, and you know, so sometimes people have to give themselves some grace with like what their expectations are and what they need to do as well. So there's so many things that I've wanted to do in my position since like all the time, and like you just can't get to everything. And you know, we have these perfectionist expectations of ourselves, and then if we don't reach every little milestone, we feel a certain way. And you know, you can't strive for perfection, you just have to strive for excellent, and that means different things for different people. Your first comment makes me think of like a link tree or something like that. And it's something I've thought about in the past, of a link tree for student orgs for how to do X, Y, and Z. So maybe it'll be something that we can do as a project this semester, just to make your lives a little bit easier. I don't know if anyone's not familiar with a link tree, but it's like, here, you could use it for like social media. Like here's my TikTok, here's my Instagram, here's my Twitter, but I think we could do a link tree for anything. So I'll think about that and try to like make that better. But thank you for giving that suggestion. Rowan?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do we or could we have training events with our advisors? Because I feel like it's really hard to connect the advisor with the organization, if that makes sense.
So do you mean by training like a regular meeting or something with your advisor, just to talk about things, or do you mean like training with your advisor, your exec board, and SEAL?
Like, I mean, like a SEAL hosted training, like where the advisor will also be informed of what's their duties, how they could help us, and stuff like that, like a training for the overall organization.
So I'll give you, the advisors get trained, have training resources, have been trained, and they have meetings that they go to individually. We have invited them to things in the past, and what the problem is not everybody shows up, and then you all feel some kind of way. So we don't do a ton of it because of that. But if there's certain things that you want to do or you want to try, we're always open to doing that. But that's the reason why we haven't done a ton, is because, you know, your timeframes are one thing, but then the advisor's timeframes are a different thing. And so that's why it's not always gone that way. But we can always help you with whatever you think about.
So think on that and think about some topics, and then yeah, we meet with advisors, Tracy, twice or three times a semester.
Yeah.
And usually hit around 30% of them that come up and say they need more assistance. So
and then we also have like that when we do your transition meeting, like we do it, like it's kind of, we try to do it like a transition, a celebration, and a training, but we invite all your advisors to that. And I will tell you honestly that the percentage is very low that attend, and that's why we suggest that you do things one-on-one with them, because then your timeframes will link up in a better way.
I hope that you all know with regards to your advisors, that your advisors hopefully are more subject matter experts in your organization and not necessarily your go-to for XYZ process, right? So SEAL takes the advisory role of, how to help you with SAFB and how to submit a room form and things like that. Your advisor would be like, for like Abington Review as an example, Jimmy's a literature professor. He's their advisor for Abington Review, and they have a very close relationship. And he's an expert in that subject matter. So I do recommend that you have regular meetings with your advisor. So regular is up to you. I wouldn't say weekly because that's a lot, but I think checking in with your advisor in some way, sometimes it's an email, sometimes it's a text message, sometimes it's a monthly meeting. But having those discussions about what you want to do, your advisor should hopefully be able to say like, hey, I think this sounds like a really good idea, or hey, I'd like to attend your meeting and meet all your members. But they don't necessarily have to be that person that answers every single question for you. That's why we have structures like our professional staff and our interns that assist you. So I hope that also adds a little bit of light to that, but we're still more than happy to help, especially teach new advisors kind of like what their responsibilities are and aren't. So, Ashka?
Yeah, sorry, Frank. One last question, I
Okay, sorry.
promise. How do you stop your turnover rate or frame? And by that, I mean like SGA specifically, we've seen probably the most turnover in positions and roles than like I believe they've ever seen, because I've reached out to like my predecessors and they've told me the same thing. So like, how do you stop that? How do you kind of like reduce the turnover rate?
Go back in time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard. So I hope this doesn't sound harsh, but so like sometimes you have to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, is there something I'm doing that isn't working? And is there something I'm doing? And sometimes part of that is collecting feedback. So if for your example, right, a senator says, I'm not really feeling SGA, I don't want to be on the board, or they just resign their position, as opposed to just saying, oh, okay, see ya, I'll find someone else, right? And having that attitude, having that sometimes awkward conversation of, can we talk about this? Like, I'm not trying to convince you to not quit your position, but I'd like to know so that like in the future, I can do better at my job, or I can do better at my position and things like that. So part of it's taking that hard look in the mirror sometimes and other times it's just like, are you committing enough time? Are you communicating? We've had situations with groups where group membership has come to our office and complained because they felt like all they were being done was being assigned work by the executive board or by a president or something like that, and they wanted it to stop, and what were ways that we could do that. So that's a kind of a long answer to your question. So I'd say it depends, but I would start with asking people that are leaving, hey, why are you leaving? Is there something we can do better? And then maybe it keeps them, maybe it doesn't, but at least it educates you so that you can kind of move forward.
I also say that right now, there's turnover everywhere. There's turnover in jobs, people and in positions, and people and having problems hiring. And so I think there's always some of that, Ashka, but I think in general, people are probably feeling it quite more because the commitment factor to do things is a lot less than it has been in the past. At least it's what it seems like. I don't, I'm not an expert of everything. So it's what we're feeling.
And think about the position that we're in, right? Think about the position that, like, I'd say it's probably harder right now to be a student, to be a staff member, and to be a faculty member in a college than it ever has been, with everything that you have to deal with: COVID, unsure world, constant changes, things like that. And I don't mean to bum anyone out, but people are leaving jobs left and right. People are electing early retirement because they don't want to work at a job anymore. High schools are just honestly, not every one of them is a mess, but a lot of them are messes, right? Because there's just so much stuff that people have to deal with. So it may be a symptom of society and things like that, but what you have to focus on is like what you can do, right? What you can do, and collecting that feedback and going from there.
And give people joy, hope, and fun. Like that's really what everybody needs, and that's what's going to keep people wherever it is. It's the joy, hope, and fun. If you're only talking about the things that are the negatives or the things that aren't working and all of that stuff within your groups, then they're missing those pieces that bring the joy, hope, and fun. And I think people are kind of like, I'm done with a lot of that and I need to go into something more positive. And so just keep that in mind as we talk through all this stuff. Is there are some, we talk about the pain points and the problems, but there's really some good things that you all have done and that you've connected. And there's people that I know that through some of the COVID things that we've learned that we would have never seen in programs or would have never done anything, but we can be able to connect them in unique ways. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Yes, you are amazing. Whereas I
good ray of sunshine there. Think about fun. Like think about why you started your orgs, right? You didn't start your orgs to make people miserable and leave. I hope not. Or your org's not gonna last very long, but you know, continue to have fun with it. And Tracy, that's awesome. So
try to bring the awesomeness. I
yeah.
called my group. I did a gift earlier that said Team Awesome. So you know that's where we are today. Anything else that we want? Any other questions or anything else before we shift gears? I
do want to show. Someone had a question. I think it might. I don't remember who it was about submitting a request in SAFP. So I want to do that real quick.
Yeah, take your time. I mean, we're gonna roll with whatever it is, and we'll kind of figure it out at the end. Yeah.
So 5 minutes or so. I don't intend to take too long. So, and this will also be SGAC as well. So I'm just going to do a quick screen share so that people can watch real quick. But each group for funding, SGAC and SAFB, have pages in here. So SGAC should be searchable through SGAC. SIFB should be searchable through SIF. Sorry, it's under SIF. So on both of these home pages of the organization are the actual physical form of how to find these. You won't see this. You'll see this. Sorry. Got a preface. Since I'm an admin, I see different things. You'll see this. Okay. So on the SGA page, there's a link here to submit this form, and then this will basically open it. And then there's a similar link on the SGAC page. So here's the link to the form, and here is your student fee request. So I'm not going to go over all this, but I will encourage you when you fill out this form for the first time, either as a treasurer or a president. Sometimes presidents fill this out. You read all of this because this is important, very important. You'll see some new policies and stuff in here, just as a reminder, and various things that you want to read. It's not too much reading, but and then as you select these buttons, you'll get different options for what your next pages are. Most times, you're going to select this event or program. Okay. And then when you're in here, just going to ask you basic things about your event, right? So you're going to meet with our staff, set a meeting. It's probably good to meet with your programming intern here, right? Funding requests, and then just some verifications and things like that. Okay, and that's it. And basically, when you hit submit to the next page, you're done. So it's a 2-page form. It's a lot shorter than it used to be. I'll tell you from being here for almost 5 years. And the SGAC one is similar. So I'm not going to recant that and go in there, but the SGAC form is very similar in scope. So. Okay, SJC says your treasurer needs to fill it out, then that's what you should be doing. Have your treasurer fill it out, and hopefully attend the meeting. Send someone from your meeting as well.
And Frank, can't they PDF whatever the form is so that they can send it to, like, if the treasurer's filling out, can't they PDF and send it to the president and that kind of stuff for communication?
Yep. Yep. It should be able to print it as a PDF and see your results, and then you can send it out.
Yeah, because I think that's one of the things that people miss is that, you know, if somebody has the information, it doesn't mean that it only has to be with that person, so that other people can answer questions as well, just in case. I mean, the treasurer ultimately is responsible for the stuff, but you still should all know what's going on and what was actually funded. Because if you start to put together like your event supplies and those type of things, and you weren't funded what you thought you were funded, then it's not a really good planning mechanism.
Yep.
Anything else, Frank?
That's it. I'm over time. So I'm going to give it back to you. Give it back to you all. And I look forward to working with you this semester.
All right, Frank, thanks to you. Are you hanging around for this part, or are you heading out?
I got to do some partner things and check on him and make him dinner. So
Well, thank you, Frank. I appreciate it. And I know everybody else appreciates it. Doesn't mean this is the end of your questions for Frank or for Seal. So if there's other stuff that comes up, we'll be happy to answer it. But this is a time frame that we gave you. So I let we had certain time frames. We gave about almost a half an hour over so that because you all had such good questions. So things might get a little shifted on the end here, but everything we're doing is so that you concretely have some information. So thanks, Frank.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So now that we've asked your questions, but a lot of you just listened to things, now is a little bit more the active part of the evening. So we really wanted to make sure that when we put you together in kind of activities, that it was something that was really going to be useful for you. And so you're going to go into breakout rooms. There will be 4 breakout rooms. And in the breakout rooms are your student event specialists. And so choose those first till they're filled. And then once it's filled, you're going to choose the room 4 for the rest of everybody, because it's a little too much to have 20 or so of you in a room. They will direct you with what's going to happen in the room, but you're going to be working on some information. What I'm hoping is that we get to come back and share it as a full group if we have enough time. If not, we will get creative, because we'll have that information to you in a different way. But we wanted to make sure that you had some time to work through. And a lot of your stuff that you talked about during this last section will really help you with this next section. Okay. So I'm hoping we're doing choose your own breakout room. So what that means is you are going to go in and join your room. I'm not assigning rooms to anybody that isn't somebody that works directly with me for this project. Okay. Anybody have any questions on that before I do it? Okay, Megan.
Are we supposed to be going like with the specific person that's in charge of our group?
If you have it. If not, you could go into the one that says Valara.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, which is group 4.
Thank you.
And there's not enough space, so some of you are going to have to, like, once it gets filled, you'll go to the next. Okay. Thank you for whoever opened up my breakout rooms. I appreciate it, because I didn't have to do it. So
There's 3 breakout rooms.
Yeah,
there
there's
was
only 3.
The 4th one's not there.
Nope.
Okay, something happened. All right, yeah, we need to close them. I had a 4th breakout room. I think you just took it when it was maybe in practice setting. I don't know. So, okay, I'm sorry, folks, we have to wait a couple seconds. So by kindness of you guys opened and made it go away, because your name was there. I had the 4th one, but I had them open for like the last hour, so that might have just gone away. It's very long when you're waiting for 29 seconds. Give them a question or something. 24 seconds, 23, like somebody give a question. 20 seconds.
How's the semester, everyone?
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm going to recreate real quick.
Already, I noticed, like, on Tuesday it was the most stressing day for me, and I was like, it's just the second day of the semester and it's already like this.
There's good, there's bad. Some people cold, some people gaming. It's so cold, I can relate.
Wednesday was pretty bad for me.
Oof. And you have like 15 more weeks?
Okay, you all can be able to go into it now. And then if there's any issues within, just pop out. I'll try to pop in and out too. Or Teams me. So go in your room.
Hold on.
How do we know which room we have to go in?
Do you know who your student event specialist is? Yours is Yusuf.
Yes, sir.
Then go into his room if there's room. If not, go into room 4. Oh wow, that way too many people joined that one. What's up?
What scenario am I?
Oh my gosh. You are scenario 1 or 2. Which one do you want to be? And then I'll give it the other one to the other.
Excuse me, quick thing. If you haven't closed, I have a family emergency right now. I can't really stay in the meeting. What do I do? Because our president is here, Jessica. I just can't right now
Fine, go do
stay
what
for
you
the
need to
last part of
do.
the meeting.
Go do what you need to do. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna take number 1.
Okay, and then I'll shoot it on Teams to the others.
What room was I in?
You were in room 1, or no, room 2.
Yeah,
Yes,
okay.
room 2.
Okay.
Okay, Jess, are you there?
I'm here. I can't get into a room for some reason.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can help you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm trying to manage that. We forgot to put what scenarios we're in. So I can't, I can move you. So I'm going to move you to room 4, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'll do it to everybody that's up left. Renasia? Renasia?
Yes.
Yes. I know that what time did you have to go?
7:50.
Okay, can you pop around and just see if they're okay? They have scenarios that they're doing with everybody. Room 1 has way too many people. So if you can see if they can move a couple, but because they have 21 people in their room.
Okay.
So I try to move some, but I think they moved themselves back. So if you could move like maybe 3 people.
Go in there and tell them that they need to move.
We know what, at this point, maybe not, just leave them in there, but they have a lot. So, but maybe hopefully it's the one that I'm the more worried about. So if you can kind of hang out in room 1 to help them.
Okay.
All right. And then and if there's questions, pop out for them, like maybe pop into each one, and they have questions, come back out and ask me.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
Is that everybody back? What do you think? Are we all back? Yes, no?
I think we are, because I think some people might have left. I don't know.
Okay. So from what I'm understanding is it might have gone a little bit different than what we talked about, my student event specialist, but that's okay, because if you're new to facilitation of this kind of information. But so what I want to honor your time. And so we're going to have a small discussion, and then I'm going to get with the people that were facilitating you and taking notes. And then we're going to kind of put out what would have been the ideal world of what those questions would be. Does that sound good? Somebody say something, because you have been quiet.
Yep.
There we go.
Sounds good, yeah.
Okay. So can I have one person from each group just to kind of summarize the stuff why don't we do group 1? Summarize this. So that was the collaboration one.
Yeah, I think we were group 1, right? Yeah. So we did the collaboration. We talked about like what should happen and like the kind of like the ground rules of when 2 clubs are trying to collaborate. We said that both clubs should be active when it comes to advertising, and they should do it on their own and together, and make sure they're pushing the advertising to like all the members, and make sure that both clubs have at least one meeting where all the board members are involved, so that they could get to know each other, and they could also work on the ideas, and make sure both clubs have an idea of what they want to see coming up in that event, so that like it could be all talked about and agreed upon in that meeting. And don't just communicate with each other on different times. Have set meetings, like we're meeting up on that day at this time, so that like everything will be like written down and agreed on. And do a lot of communication. It's really important. Also, one important point that was mentioned like towards the end is that if a lot of different clubs are doing the collaboration, make sure every club puts something into the event. And like when we're talking about like presenting a project, not only one person is talking, but everybody is talking basically. Make sure every club is involved in that event. That's basically what we have. Yeah.
Awesome. I think it was all good points, and I think and when we take all of your notes together, we'll put like a summary of what you talked about. So that's great. So how about the conference scenario?
Actually, we were scenario 1 too. So we did collaboration, and we said basically the same thing as they did.
Anything different?
No, they touched on most of the points that we touched on.
Okay. All right. And how about the conference one?
We talked a little bit about the conference, and we also talked about like what goes into the planning of the event. And what the group seemed to really understand was that the SEAL team was here like as a resource more than anything, and that if they had any problems, to make sure they address problems like way in advance, so that they weren't doing anything last minute or anything like that.
Great. And then is there anything else in the rest of the conversation that you were talking about that you want to add?
Someone just typed it in the chat too.
Okay, Great. I can't wait to see all the notes on it. And then, so we'll go on. And then the comic.
So we talked about like, you know, time management of planning the event about 2 months in advance. You need to know, like, you know, who you want to bring and contact them and send them like a contract form, so that they're, like, you know, willing to sign it and that we can get it to seal. You need to make sure what the speaker's plan is for the event. So you have to be aware of like what they're going to do during the event, how long it will take. And you have to be aware of if they're willing to come to campus or hold the event on Zoom.
Okay, great. Anything else I want to add from any of that stuff that somebody didn't say that you really felt it needed to be said now?
I also forgot to mention too that if you're planning to have your guest speaker on campus, you need to be you need to know that there should be, like, you know, supplies, like, you know, available in advance, depending on what that person is coming to do. Like, if they need supplies, you would need to bring that. If they're just coming to talk, you would probably need IT for that. So it all really depends on the person coming and their event.
Great. Anything else from the people that were facilitating?
I think Nora went well over every points that we're putting out. It was basically the 2 months and every other things that needs the background checks that needs to filled out, and it went really well with our conversation. So.
Okay, so we're gonna do a couple quick things to wrap up. And then we'll let you all go. So I'm putting a question into the chat, and I want you all to put an answer to it. Okay, and then at the same time, I'm gonna launch a poll, and we're gonna ask you to fill that out. Yeah, and one thing we always do with training is we ask some questions to make sure you're getting some kind of reinforcement. So that's what that is. See, I got on top of it, my lead learning assistant. So did it. Nobody's grateful for anything of your organization? Oh, there we go. Awesome. So I love seeing what I'm saying. It's the skills you're learning, you're grateful, amazing teamwork, communicate, fun times, interest. I want you really to leave with that kind of a feeling. So it was, I wanted you to do that, and I want you to answer this question. Give me one word, because I'm trying to honor time, so I'm gonna do it in the chat versus us talking it out as we usually do it. So one word that you are feeling right now. So answer if you're grateful, and then also answer like one word that you're feeling right now about this, like the learning things and that type of stuff. Excited and ready, awesome. Eager, determined, anxious. Yeah, I understand the anxiousness. I have a lot of that this semester too. Hopeful and excited, I have that too. Prepared, good. Beaming. Joe, I think I've seen you write that word a couple different times. Overwhelmed, ready, grateful to learning lessons, awesome, confident. It's important that we, there's always going to be some things that are not going to go the way you want them to go. Like in my head, I had a certain way that those breakout rooms were going to go, and I think they all went a little bit different for you inside of it. Things are not always going to go the way that you plan. Things are not always going to go the way that you hope, but it's really important to take the gratitude out of everything that you do, because there's always going to be something that's not perfect. and life isn't perfect. And the more that we can be grateful about the experiences that we go through and learn how to, the favorite word of all of COVID is pivot into something else, or to change something and be flexible, the better you are as a human being in your roles, in your life, in your career, because you're going to constantly have that in your family. You're going to expect something's going to happen and somebody falls, and then all of a sudden you now have to be out of work. Or you know, you have planned this big thing for work and it was set for 3 weeks and the project took 6 weeks, you know, and you had to wind up losing money or trying to figure out how to make that money work. There's always going to be something that's going to be a little bit more difficult than you assumed it to be. And so we want you to leave with these kind of programs with the lessons that you learn, but also the gratitude that you are wonderful at what you're doing, because you're learning all those flexibility skills and learning about people. And we really appreciate you being here. So if anybody wants to say anything as we close out, I'm happy to have you talk, but I just want to say thank you for taking the time tonight and to really learn. And we can't wait to see what you're doing this semester. Those that are facilitating with me, if you can hang in for just a second.